Hello and welcome. I am Duncan Bird, VP of Brand Marketing Digital here at Fiverr, and I'd like to introduce you to Andy Bird, no relation, from Publicis.
I'm Andy Bird from Publicis, as Duncan said. You got that right. I am the Chief Creative Officer of Publicis Groupe, of a Troupe, which is the creative collective across all the agencies. And I also was Publicis New York's CCO.
Congratulations, Andy. What a job title. I love it.
I got
So before we get into this fireside chat, there's no fire, and I'm not by your side, but let's overlook those two facts and quickly play our wonderful Super Bowl commercial, which we just aired at this year's Super Bowl.
Looks good, guys. Success! It's often right place, right time. When opportunity knocks at your corrugated garage door, you roll that puppy up. Fiverr gets that. From graphic design to web development. We're even a PR expert for things like, I don't know, booking a press conference. The freelancers to get you where you want to be.
Ma, we found a fifth season! Yeah! Yeah!
Is this the lobby? This is not a hotel.
So we decided to run a Super Bowl ad for the first time this year, and it was a very big decision for us as a company, and befitting with the growth that we've experienced as both a business and a brand. We've been expanding globally. We've been growing tremendously in North America, and this year felt like the first year that it felt right for us to throw our hat into the Super Bowl and become a first-time Super Bowl advertiser. And our goals in doing that were to really get a lot of people in America to know about our brand, to know what we stand for, and to consider Fiverr as an option for freelance services on demand. And we went to Andy Bird's fantastic company, Publicis, for some advice and help in this. We made them go through a few hoops before we got to that.
Yeah, you missed that bit off, Duncan, but yeah.
All right, we did a pitch. We did a pitch.
That which I was never worried about losing, so it was just like starting the project.
There you go, confidence. That's what we like.
Exactly.
So what stuck out, Andy, to you about Fiverr as a brand, apart from the fact that you knew me, but what stood out to you about Fiverr when we approached you?
Well, despite knowing you, I actually, it's really interesting. There's a couple of things. One is, Fiverr were wanting to make their debut in a year where a lot of brands pulled out the Super Bowl, probably incorrectly actually, and that actually, I just thought that was a brave move. I also thought when you're looking into what Fiverr have, what they did in 2020, how they basically were one of the few brands around who kind of thrived in the environment that we were in, because their offering is so strong, because it was just so right for the moment. It was almost to work with them at this point of their in Fiverr's kind of evolution was just something I was really excited about. I also knowing Duncan, knowing how your creative spirit runs through you, I knew that we would do something good. I knew it wouldn't be. In fact, I think I said to you that the first conversation was, what the Super Bowl is, right? You don't want me to start doing how-to videos. You'll need to do something brave. And you went, yeah, we will. To which I thought, well, he's probably not lying. I took him at his word for the first time in my life. And everything we talked about came through. It was it seems weird talking about this now because it was only a few months ago. It seems like 10 years ago.
It seems like forever ago, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So for the benefit of everyone who wasn't on all the meetings that we were on, which were a lot, let's go right back to when we first sat down, or we didn't sit down, we zoomed down and said to ourselves, right, what are we going to do? And we started out looking at all sorts of different angles before we got to where we ended up, right? Let's
Yeah,
talk
of
about
course.
that.
I mean, I think we had like 6 or 7 ideas in the initial presentation and pitch, and I think, but I think if I'm going to blow our own trumpet a little bit, I think we understood Fiverr's offering pretty quickly, and we found it not just like fun to work on, but we found it kind of easier once we kind of got into a groove of what Fiverr does and how you can kind of move that and kind of use what you do in a way that's get into a creative space with it. We found it really interesting. There was a different ways in on it, but it wasn't one of those brands where you just have to shock or be just brave for no reason to get attention. I think there was something really different about Fiverr's offering that allowed us to be creative.
Yeah, that's definitely a part of our brand personality where we talk about being bold, bold in a good way, because bold can go both ways. And I think my recollection, without naming names, there were quite a few ideas that we went back and forth on that you liked and we liked at the time, which involved the C word, the celebrity.
Yeah.
And the more I think about it in hindsight, and hindsight's such a great thing because you can just make out that you knew it. But in hindsight, I think when I look at the use of celebrities in Super Bowl ads, it's sort of become the go-to. Dare I say, it's a cliche that you're basically renting, as old Heggett used to say, you're renting a space in someone's brain, and you're therefore using a celebrity to rent that space because the celebrity is more familiar than the brand. And the danger with that is obviously that people remember the celebrity and not the brand.
Yeah, I remember Gally and Matt and you saying to us, like, is this on a couple of the ideas? Are you going to remember the celebrity, not the idea, or Fiverr? And I think
it's even harder when you don't know the brand, right?
No, exactly. That's even harder. And I think this year again at the Super Bowl, there was a lot of celebrity spots. And what I like about what we did, we held our own without that. Marie might think she's a celebrity. I don't know.
Marie is a celebrity. We made her a celebrity.
Yeah. But I think it was the power of an idea and tapping into a cultural moment in America for 2020, which was probably unmatched, which was as much that was our celebrity. I think that was the Four Seasons situation.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked a lot about that with journalists who've had us on and kindly indulged us in talking about our own advertising, which as two Brits is mildly uncomfortable, but let's do it anyway. Is that cultural moment in the US came so close to the Super Bowl that it wasn't without challenges. That when I looked at a lot of advertisers talking about the development of their campaign, they'd wrap their stuff up before Mr. Giuliani's press conference.
Yeah.
Well, the polite way of saying it was a bit late.
Yeah, it's a bit late. We were. I've done a few Super Bowl spots over the years, and this was well. We always had it shot before Christmas, for the holiday season. This is the first time I've done one after it, which had its difficulties and also like just. But then I guess it's because we were so close. I think we bonded as an agency and a client.
I pretty much spent my holiday season with you.
Yeah. Well, not just us. It was everybody from your team and my team. It was. I don't think if we weren't so open to kind of like this could go wrong at any moment. But what's Plan B? What's Plan C? We had that, and we kind of went with it, and it worked. It's testament to Fiverr's, to you and your people, your team, and then the team in Tel Aviv who were just we seem to meet every other day with and I was thinking there was a couple of problems we had, and I was like, this ain't going to go well. And I was always, surprised and delighted by the response at Fiverr. Just how we deal with that.
We are, and you alluded to it in your backhanded compliment about me, in that we naturally like to take risks, but we want to, like all advertisers, to try and minimize the risk. But once you dip your toe in the water to taking a risk, you've got to be up for that risk. So let's talk a little bit about the story of Four Seasons Total Landscaping and how, when we first started talking about it, we started to discuss that risk. But then the more we talked about it, the more it became apparent the idea of what had happened to them as a business, who they are as a business, really was a bullseye of what we were already doing and what our company really does.
I mean, it was almost too good to be true, wasn't it? When you looked into like what their year has been and the way that they have grown in the last. But actually, no. If you said to Marie, and I'm sure she's going to be on this, like if you said to Marie in October, you're going to be in the Super Bowl in 4 months, she would have just thought you're insane. The fact that they grew so quickly, is the reason that it was a perfect kind of partnership for Fiverr to do the Super Bowl, because it was a shortcut. It was like they grew this quickly. Fiverr can make brands, other companies grow using their services. So it was almost a perfect fit. Not to say that we could have come at it different ways. We could have executed differently. And again, it's credit to Fiverr for allowing us to be more creative with it and kind of hyperbolic with it, which I think you have to be in the Super Bowl. We could have come at it very functionally, and it wouldn't have made, I don't think, as much an impact as it did. So it was because of we took the essence of their story and imbued it with kind of insanity a little bit, which I think if you don't do that in the Super Bowl, if you haven't got celebrities, you need to punch above your weight. And I think we did that with just the execution. So
yeah, so the insanity, deep down inside the insanity was a lot of sanity, which was we were highlighting those services that that a business like Four Seasons could get on Fiverr. And just so everybody knows, we had, and this is a Fiverr business conference, we had a team of experts who are helping that business, which is basically the essence of the Fiverr business offering. So curated services helping your team, and Marie's company has over 50 employees, and we were helping them to transform their web offering, their design, their logo, et cetera, et cetera. So it wasn't just that we were just making an ad for the Super Bowl, which was full of insanity, which it was, more of that in a minute, like 400-foot waterfalls and stuff. At the very heart of the ad were these people booking services. And when we saw those services being delivered, they were real sellers on Fiverr doing real stuff for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry if I did the creative director thing and went well past the actual business part. But yeah, there was certainly. That's why we're both on this, Andy. Yeah, that's not my own. No, there was absolutely it was a real Fiverr kind of production. Again, which added a little bit of complexity to the production, but it was worth doing. It was so it legitimized a lot of what we showed on the night.
Yeah, and I think that once we got into the idea and we were fully committed, I mean, we committed so deeply, but with so little time to create this crazy world behind that corrugated iron door, roll that puppy up, as she says in the spot. That behind that was this insane world that we'd helped transform for her, and that was not without its challenges.
No, again, it was just again, the production and the partnership with Fiverr was crucial to that. Like when we had to recreate the actual whole her whole business in Mexico City because we couldn't shoot in Philly because of COVID. So that I mean, I didn't say it at the time, Duncan, but I was super nervous about that.
I mean, so was I. I think we all just had a silent fingers crossed on the table. Plus, you remember the director was having 4 COVID tests a day or more. I mean, it was just insanity, but it was a huge worry.
It was a huge worry. And then, there's always that worry that we'll be able to recreate it to the level of, that we wanted it to be. How we had ideas about what was inside the behind the white door, but we never kind of really knew till we got down there what was possible. And then flying down the cast, it was a huge endeavor, and I mean it paid off. I mean, and then there's also there's the slight nervousness about the controversy around the whole situation.
Let's talk about that a bit, because we could have made this commercial go in all sorts of different directions, but we wanted it to be a celebration of a female-owned business pivoting at a moment when the spotlight was shone on that business and really celebrating that and bringing it to life. And it was the weirdness of how that light was shone on it, which could have taken it in a number of directions. And we were very keen to make sure that we weren't taking, as Marie has not done, any political side in this. She had no choice in someone wanting to hold a press conference there. She went with it. We chose to partner, but we were very clear that we didn't want to take sides in our ad.
I don't think we got any blowback from that. I think that we took a calculated, and joint decision that moment in time. I mean, there was plenty of articles we looked at over the holiday season, which kind of said that moment was one of the highlights of the year, despite it being around the election. It was almost so hilarious that it transcended kind of politics.
Yeah, the head of Twitter called it the most memeable event of the year.
Yeah. So we took a decision on that, and I think we were proved, luckily that we were right. I don't think anybody saw it as a pro anybody message. It was just
pro business.
Pro business. Yeah, that's a good one. Pro business. So, but obviously there was caution about that. We definitely discussed it in our meetings about and we decided that it was going to be fine, and it was. I just think when you see Marie and you see the whole thing, it's the fact that we made it so ludicrous, kind of sucked any kind of possible sense of controversy out of it.
Yeah, and the whole thing is a celebration rather than a knocking of it. And I think probably where we come from, not that there is a Super Bowl in England, but if it was a British ad and a British thing that had happened, it would have taken a slightly more sinister or darker turn, which would not have been right for a brand like Fiverr.
No. And the Super Bowl is the night when you really want to just kick back and have fun and not really have political messages rammed down your throat. I don't think that's something that anybody needs.
I read a thing just before the Super Bowl, a guy called Jeff Cottrell I used to work with years ago. He wrote an article at Fast Company saying, if you can't make me laugh or do something good in these times, then just don't turn up. And I think, we were definitely in the column of, this is very funny, but it has a serious message. But it is hilarious seeing Marie driving around in that truck with all that craziness going on. And maybe we can share with everybody here at the conference today some of the little funny instances. One of them that springs to my mind is the sound of one of the guys flying through the air, smashing into her truck just out off camera. And I heard a lot of language, which was, as we say here, colourful, which worried me that something awful had happened.
And there's also the truck wouldn't go up the ramp. That wouldn't. Yeah. Didn't have enough power. All these things, and of course, for those who don't know about how you shoot commercials and why would you? We shot this remotely, so nobody was there. We're usually on the set. There's the agency and the clients bothering us and bothering the director. But no. But there was none of that. We were all looking down a screen at this thing, and that made it surreal. But it actually made it kind of even go faster because it just felt like there was no kind of pauses. And there was a huge amount of trust involved in that. Yeah.
I think the technology that we used, because I remember saying, why aren't we just doing it on Zoom? And you guys or the production company put together some really great software that allowed me to see the different cameras, talk to Nick in a way that Fiverr, we bring people together remotely without you having to be there and get the best quality output. I think there were elements of the shoot that by not being there, the access that we all had to have to make those decisions made it in some ways better. If we had been there, it would have been, well, you guys sit over there and we'll show you it when we think it's ready. Whereas I saw every single shot.
We wouldn't have done that. But yeah, I know what you said. Some agencies do that. We wouldn't have done that. But yeah, it was again, I don't think anybody knew who Fiverr was or who we were on those Zooms. It just looked like we were one big team.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good way of putting it. When I first met Marie, she thought that everybody on the shoot and us, we were all one, which is a great way to be. And as for those of you who don't know, Andy and I did work together many years ago when we were both younger men, and it's really hard to get that gelling of that relationship if there isn't trust. And I think as we went through, I mean, we literally put ourselves through the ringer trying to make this in the time that we had. I don't think there was a day where there wasn't a minor hiccup, shall we say, but the end result was phenomenal.
I think that ties into what Fiverr is, trusted partners, having that kind of level of trust with your the person you're working with. I think if we didn't know each other, a lot of those issues that we had wouldn't have been so smooth, because I could ring you up and go, hey mate, this is looking a bit dodgy right now. Can we talk about it? If it was more formal, or there was that trust wasn't there, I think I'm not sure it would have. We would have got there, but it wouldn't have been as easy.
There were definitely a few hairy moments with approvals and goodness knows what. I mean, I'm seeing in the notes any other notable curveballs. I think most of the ones that I can remember are just I wouldn't really want to talk about in public.
No, I think there was just a process, just getting it done, and the timings, and then we still didn't have a director sold by before Christmas. It was just very
well, even the week before the Super Bowl, we were still finishing up post-production.
Yeah, exactly.
And a shout out to Lauren, who's your producer. She kept it together, where we had many midnight, 1 a.m. calls where stuff was getting approved.
Well, Lauren is really should be on here. She's the person who kept us all going and just made this thing happen. I think should we talk about the response to the actual spot and how it went down, and how it's different to how the general public reacted to it on social media as opposed to.
Yeah, no, I think what we saw on the night, and we had a pretty ingenious plan for anyone watching who doesn't know. We decided that we knew most of the Super Bowl advertisers who were going to be advertising what their brand was. And so together with Publicis, our social media team worked on a strategy where we identified brands that could be mistaken for the brand that you've just seen advertise. And we had pre-prepared ideas to engage and create essentially what we were doing in our ad, which is mistaking the Four Seasons for Four Seasons Total Landscaping, or not what we were doing, what someone else did. Let's talk about that a bit, because that really exploded on the night.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hilarious that again, tapping into the cultural moment of the Four Seasons being the wrong place to have the wrong press conference at the wrong time. It just felt like an easy win for us to tweet out at other companies that sounded a bit like something else. Well, am I doing it justice? and then basically, we got some clients that we work with involved to help on that, who also just kind of jumped in.
Yeah, so as the night went on, more and more brands started to see what we were doing, but went along with the joke and said, you guys really don't understand, this is not the right company. And then when the small companies were mentioned, then they would join in, and the level of engagement and traction that we got, and then celebrities and influencers were joining in too, was just, it just was crazy watching it just scrolling down the screen. It was just way beyond what we could have hoped for or expected.
Yeah. And then just the reaction to the actual spot itself was something that was just awesome to see. Just everybody was like, because it was we had a 30-second spot against, we were punching up a little bit against other brands that had like 90 seconds and 60 seconds, and $10 million celebrities. We didn't have any of that, and again, I kind of had a hunch that just because of where we were and what the actual concept was, it would do better than most 30 seconds, because it has that kind of like, they really just did that. That was really Four Seasons landscaping. Yeah. So just to watch Twitter kind of explode, immediately after the spot had aired was,
Yeah, the number of people posting that Fiverr just won the Super Bowl, which is flattering, but obviously it was a sports team that won the Super Bowl, not an advertiser, but I get what they meant. But yeah, there were a lot of people saying that, and people who were just so, I think, relieved to see a brand doing something that spoke to something that had just happened in their lives in a non-political way, rather than just going, here's a celebrity you know from a few decades ago in a movie you know from a few decades ago, and we've just co-opted it.
And I also think, the reaction the day after, we got accolades from media that wasn't, trade press, or it was, the Daily Mail. When you get that kind of coverage and you get that kind of response from the general public, I always think it's much better than any other kind of accolade. When it kind of gets picked up in the media outside of like either our respective worlds, that's when
we saw the reaction in press nationally, regular press, not marketing press, then internationally, huge reaction in places like Australia and Germany and even the UK, and then on the financial markets, there was a huge reaction there. I mean, it was phenomenal to see all of the work that we did as a debut Super Bowl advertiser, for it to be flawless. I mean, it really was. It was not without problems, but when we executed it and the plan that we had around it, and we transformed our website and we followed it up with emails and competitions and grants and so on, every single aspect that we could have lent into in what we call now 360-degree marketing, we covered it off and done it in a way that felt natural, because I think when you go back to the beginning of this conversation, the idea matches with our ability to help transform businesses.
Yeah, I think people who saw it and who know Fiverr were like, of course that's Fiverr, because if you know the spirit of Fiverr, it felt right. That was something I picked up on as well. Like there was people who saw Fiverr for the first time because it's so mass. There's people who maybe haven't used Fiverr before, but those that had, they just felt it was of course Fiverr would do this.
I do remember you guys telling me though, when I really wanted our end line, it starts here, which I love. On the ad, you guys said, did I want to look like a local bank or a telecoms or something? That hurt.
I never said that.
Yeah, you did.
Oh. Well, I think also, I mean, it's a, when you have a 30-second spot, you've just got to get the message very quickly and sharply in there. I think the more stuff you put in, especially in the 30, you just got to be kind of.
I think the example your team used was when Apple first advertised, they put their logo up and they didn't have a catchphrase or a line. And no. You guys were right. You were right. But I love that line.
Yeah, it is a good line. No, so like I said, I think just and then after the week out, I mean, people inside our industry, my industry, again, it was loved. People were like, again, the audaciousness of it was just well,
the feeling was definitely shared within our company and within our kind of adjacent companies who we collaborate with. There was a general, extremely strong feeling of pride, and that we really made our debut in a very strong, very creative, very bold way, which is a very Fiverr way of doing it. So yeah. This is so strange, two English people saying well done.
Well done, Don.
Well done, indeed. All right.
When are we doing the next one?
When are we going to do the next one? Well, I think it's an annual event. It usually happens around February.
Can we start a bit earlier this time?
I think that's a given, and I think maybe we'll go even bigger next year. Maybe
I do think though that the great thing about your debut in the Super Bowl was the fact that, again, it surprised people about the actual execution, but it didn't surprise it that it came from you guys. And I think that's something that I think Fiverr should and could build on, just having that, like, not constantly putting things out, but every now and again being, capitalizing on a cultural moment that's kind of audacious and bold and brave.
Yeah, we want to be an iconic brand, and we want to be on the side of businesses, small, medium-sized businesses, and increasingly bigger businesses, which is why we've launched Fiverr Business, to make it easier for people to collaborate when you've got a bigger team, and to really help people find those correct services that really match their business needs. So yeah, here's to a great job done, Andy, and everyone at Publicis. And on my side, there was a huge amount of people involved, not just Bird and Bird. Yeah, let's start a bit earlier next time.
Oh yes, and also it was. I think everybody on my side enjoyed it, and that's not always the case. Everybody was just, it was fun. We laughed, which I thoroughly enjoyed December. Scrambling around, panicking, trying to get this thing made, but it was down to you guys and who made it easy for us.
Well, thank you guys, and thank you to everyone for listening. I hope that was informative and helpful. A little peek behind the screens of the production of a Super Bowl campaign.
Thank you.